Welcome everyone. In this video, I'm excited to present to you some of the new features and enhancements in MAKIRA Approve. These improvements became available with our latest release in May 2025. You are about to see some of the most requested updates and valuable changes we have made based on feedback from our users. For this demonstration, we will be using SAP S/4HANA system. And we will start by taking a quick look at all the new features and improvements we have made. I will go through each of them individually and demonstrate their functionality. First, let's look at the new features in Invoice Overview Fiori App. Here we have new and reorganized buttons, new actions for Reserve, Release, Park BIV, and also Mass Execute. The toolbar now features color-coded buttons for key actions like Execute, Reminder, Park, Attachments, Workflow, and Work Item. These colorful backgrounds improve the visibility and ease of navigation. And not only that, buttons are now logically grouped into drop-down menus. For instance, the Workflow drop-down includes options like Lock, Restart, Terminate, and Start Possible Workflow. These actions apply at the workflow level and can be executed on multiple work items at once. For example, you can select several work items and perform the action simultaneously. Or, if you want to check the workflow log of a specific document, simply select it. It's just one click away. And in the work item dropdown, you will find the actions that are specific to a single work item. The work item info and the forward button are now included here also. And 3 new actions are now available for work items. There is the reserve work item. It allows one agent to lock the item for exclusive handling. Here is how it works. And there is a reverse button, Release Reserved Work Item, which makes it available again to all agents. There is also Redo Agent Determination, which re-evaluates all potential agents. The Park button has also been added, which means that invoices sent for background invoice verification can be parked immediately without further waiting. It can be used for invoices in status 1, defined for background verification, and 3 with errors. And now let's look at the execute improvements. When looking at a work item, you can simply click on the new execute button to immediately start working on a document. No need to even select it first. For multiple documents, you can now use the mass execute option. Simply select the documents you want, click execute, and a new dialog window will appear with the execute next button already highlighted. Just click it and the first work item opens in a new tab. Once you are finished, just close the tab and click Execute Next again to continue. When all items are processed, the dialog will confirm you are done and you can close it. Next, let's look at the enhancements made to the Invoice Processing Analytics. 2 new columns have been introduced to provide better visibility into how each document has been processed. The first column indicates whether a document has gone through accounts payable handling, meaning it required any manual intervention before or after approval. The second column indicates whether a line of business involvement was required, such as assignment or approval steps. You can also see the specific tasks that were performed. This addition gives a quick overview of which documents required user intervention and how many documents were posted automatically. For example, if both columns are empty for a document, it means it was auto-posted with no manual steps. To take advantage of the new KPIs, you can use a delivered view from MAKIRA or create your own public view by adding the new columns. Now, on to the next task. In this release, we're introducing a smarter way to manage approval delegation, as delegations have been extended with a new workflow rule. Until now, delegations were maintained in the delegations rule table, line by line, specifying a user, account, cost element, and approval limit. This worked well, but became difficult to maintain for customers with many combinations, especially when multiple users had to be granted approval rights across a wide range of cost objects. Now we have delegation by workflow rule. Instead of maintaining separate records for each user and cost center, responsibilities are defined once and multiple users can be assigned to them. This new approach simplifies delegation setup and allows broader coverage with fewer entries. Let's take a look at how to create a delegation rule. First, you select the name and start and end date. Then you define the responsibility using key fields. For example, here we will add an amount from 10,000 to 100,000. We can also add an application and a company code or a range if we need it, and let's say a range of cost centers. You can use wildcards to match any or no value, or use hash to explicitly require that a field is left blank. This also gives you more control and flexibility than the classic setup. Then you save it, and now you can add users to this responsibility. Now, for example, Lisa is added, and you can also add more. Important to mention that rule-based delegation doesn't replace the classic table. Both options are still available and they can even be used together depending on your needs. The rule-based option for broader delegation logic and the classic one for simpler specific cases. Behind the scenes, when a workflow approval is triggered, the system first checks for a matching delegation rule. If one is found, it applies. If not, it falls back to the old table. There is also a new configuration for setting a standard delegation currency. This ensures that approval amounts from documents and limits are compared consistently, even if they are in different currencies. Whenever delegation is checked, the document amount is converted into this currency, and that amount is used to match the rule. With this update, delegation is now faster, more scalable, and easier to manage. And now, on to the following task. This release brings two powerful features. They are the Simulate User Approval Limit and the Simulate Invoice Approval Procedure. Let's first explore the Simulate User Approval Limit, which displays a user's approval limits for each application based on selected parameters. To use it, simply enter a user ID, select a company code, and choose a cost dimension such as WBS, cost center, or internal order. Optionally, you can also filter by application. For this example, I will use the user Sharon Shopper and I will first check the limit for cost center. When you click Execute, the tool returns the user's approval limits for the selected criteria. In this case, it shows that Sharon Shopper has a limit of 10,000 GBP for all the applications. If we go back and change the cost dimension to WBS, for example, we can see that the limit now is 500,000 GBP. This happens because project organizations often grant higher limits than base organizations. This data is retrieved from the approval rules maintained in the system in the amount limits rule. Each result reflects the highest priority rule that applies, so you are always seeing the effective approval limit. The second tool, the Simulate Invoice Approval Procedure, visualizes the approval path an invoice will follow, helping users verify processing order and expected approvals. You just have to enter the invoice number, and you will see the invoice data and the line items. Here you get a line-by-line breakdown of who will approve it. When you double-click a line, the system displays the expected approval sequence for that item. This shows the approvers in sequence based on the current approval rule logic, indicating who is expected to approve the item next. This here is a simple first version, showing only the cost responsibles. Future updates will include delegations, substitutions, and manager determinations. And now to the last feature that we will showcase in this video. In this release, we have improved the mass download of attachments in the Invoice Overview app to make it easier to identify files and keep them organized. Previously, when downloading attachments in bulk, all files retained their original names, often something generic like invoice.pdf. This made it hard to tell which file belonged to which invoice. Now, here you can select which types of attachments to see, and when you click Download All, each file name is automatically generated to include key information: the invoice number, fiscal year, and reference. If the invoice has just one attachment, the file name follows this pattern. If there are multiple attachments, a counter is added at the end to distinguish them. This way, you can clearly link each file back to its source invoice, even when downloading dozens at once. And when downloading a single attachment, the original file name is preserved, so no change there. We have also added a new filter option. When selecting attachments, you can now filter by file type. For example, only show PDFs, making it easier to find what you need. A helpful tooltip has been added to explain how the naming works when using Download All. These updates improve attachment management, reduce confusion, and make the Invoice Overview app even more user-friendly for bulk operations. Thanks for taking the time to explore these new features with us. We hope these new tools will make your workflows even more efficient. If you have any questions about activating or customizing the updates, our team is here to help. Full release documentation and user guides are always available at the product portal. We're already working on the next round of enhancements. Stay connected for what's coming in the next MAKIRA Approve S4 release, scheduled for the fourth quarter of 2025.